Awesome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Tamina, and I'm the community director at Hera Hub Carlsbad. And Dr. Diana is a member and a guru with us, women's health and hormones guru. And so we've been teaming up to present these little, I don't know, mini series that are open to the public. And we're so glad that you're here. This is our second one.
All
So,
right. Should we go ahead and start? It's like 12:05, so
sure.
I'm thinking let's go ahead and do it. All right.
Okay. Yeah, and then
So,
Erica can just keep an eye on the waiting room.
Eric, keep it. Okay, so I am going to try to share my screen and get to where we need to be and share. This is always the part that's the hardest, right? And present. All righty, everyone. Hello. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dr. Diana Hoppe, board certified OBGYN. Been doing this for 30 years, and I love education, and I love helping women through the transition of perimenopause and menopause, as well as all the other changes that we go through in life, right? Life hits us with lots of different curveballs. So today we're going to focus on being festive and fit and staying healthy with eating tips to avoid holiday weight gain. And we'll also talk about other strategies to help us so that we don't gain that weight that we sometimes can gain during the holidays, right? Everyone ready for this? Let's do it. So I always have this disclaimer just so that it kind of just protects everybody. But basically, I'm going to give information in this program. If you do want to implement any of it, please check with your healthcare provider and make sure that it's going to be right for you. And then it's just easier for us to deal with life if we make sure that you're seeing a provider and take all of this to heart. But it's very good information. All righty. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn what hormonal changes are happening as we age, what happens to our weight, and why is it so difficult just in general to lose weight. And then in addition, add the holidays to it, right? And what we can do to have mindful eating strategies, different tips to help manage stress and stay active. And at the end, I also have recipes so that you can enjoy guilt-free holiday dishes. And this is my little doggy. This is little Rudy. People that know Rudy, he is my joy, and it's just so fun. And this is how I manage my stress is by being with my little Rudy. So he's at the groomer right now. So this is the secret weapon for all of us for staying healthy and energized, because we want to actually still have fun during this holiday season and enjoy and savor and be with family and friends. But we also need to know how to manage stress and be grounded so that we don't get caught up in the chaos of the holidays. So we're going to learn how to be balanced in our choices, how to keep our energy as high as possible, and again, to decrease the stress so that we're really enjoying this holiday season rather than just like enduring it or surviving through it, right? So let's review a little bit about what is perimenopause. And those of you who have seen my other kind of series that I've done with Hera Hub, and thank you, Tamina, for hosting this. I always love doing this with you. Perimenopause is the 2 to 8 years prior to menopause. So it's when you're still having your periods, right? But you can start having hormonal symptoms like hot flashes, night sweats, sleep disturbances, mood swings, vaginal dryness, decreased libido. And all of these hormonal changes and irregular periods are causing a change in your hormone levels. And the hormones are very key to how your weight is regulated. So we know that when you wake up in the morning, you go on the scale and you're like, what happened? I didn't even eat last night and it's gained 5 pounds, right? And you're thinking, okay, I exercised, I'm doing everything correct. Why am I not losing weight in general, right? And you can see the woman on the right, she's having sleep problems. Well, when we have sleep problems, our cortisol levels go up and that makes us hold on to fat. Then you add the hormonal changes with estrogen declining. Estrogen declining causes actually more stress to the body, higher cortisol, again, making the body want to hold on to fat. So that's why it's so hard to lose weight in general during the perimenopause and menopause. I wanted to add this slide because it really gives a compilation of what is the menstrual cycle and what's happening during perimenopause and menopause. On the left, you can see a normal menstrual cycle or your regular every 28 days. It's like clockwork. And this is when you're not in the perimenopause, it's prior to that time. You're having regular cycles. You still have fluctuations in the hormones, as you can see. So that estrogen in the pink line, that what actually peaks at mid-cycle. And then you can see progesterone, which is the more kind of teal color, that actually peaks about day 21. And I also added testosterone here just so you can understand that when you actually have the highest libido, it's right by mid-cycle when you're going to ovulate. Because that's Mother Nature saying, let's try to get pregnant, right? So the egg gets ovulated at mid-cycle, estrogen peaks, testosterone's at its highest, and then the ovary starts making progesterone. So that's what this teal color is. So the progesterone is really in what we call the luteal phase. The first part is called the follicular phase. But bottom line, you're having hormonal fluctuations, but they're very cyclical and very synchronous, right? So you can see here to the right, when we look at hormone levels over a woman's lifespan, you can see in the reproductive years, we have a pretty static, stable level of the progesterone, as well as the estradiol of the estrogen, okay? Now let's focus on perimenopause. So you can see how this has now become a roller coaster, right? It's not as even, it's not as synchronous. You're going to have a dip in the progesterone, a much higher estrogen, and this is what we call estrogen dominance. You may have heard of that term. But because of these hormonal fluctuations, it's really hard to lose weight. And then what happens with menopause is when we don't have a cycle for 12 months and our hormones drop precipitously. That is, our estrogen drops rapidly as well as the progesterone. So in perimenopause, we still have hormones, but it's like a roller coaster. And in menopause, it's like the roller coaster's done and now it's like an arid desert, right? So this is why it's so hard to actually lose weight. Then we add the holidays to the whole equation, and that's a whole nother scenario, right? So when we have these changing levels, you're going to have more cortisol. I mentioned that. That's going to hold on to fat. Why? Because your body thinks it's a crisis. Your body thinks we are going to go through a famine. We need to hold on to fat. Okay. So it's like you're struggling against your own body. Second, you're not sleeping that well. Sleep also increases cortisol. That is, the sleep disruption increases cortisol. It also can make you fatigued and irritable the next day, right? How many of you have had that irritability, night sweats going, I didn't even sleep. I was in bed, but I didn't really sleep because you're not having really restful sleep. And that causes more fatigue, irritability, and then you make bad food decisions too during that time because you're so tired, right? You just grab whatever's there. The other thing that's interesting about the hormones is you have ghrelin and leptin. Those are things that are your hormones that are for hunger and satiety. And when you're stressed and the hormones are wacky, you basically, their leptin, which is a satiety hormone, is less. So you don't feel as satiated. So basically, you're going to have more ghrelin, which is hunger. So you're going to want to eat more and have less of that appetite suppression. So you can see how the hormones are involved with weight gain and menopause and perimenopause. And estrogen is very important also for glucose stabilization. So as we go through perimenopause, we have more likelihood to have insulin resistance. So all of these factors go into how we manage our weight and why it's key to understand these fluctuations and then have someone helping you during this time if you really need some help. So what are the things we can do just in general during this time of perimenopause and menopause is we can try to look at the triggers that commonly cause unhealthy choices. Like if you're waking up at night and then you're not falling back asleep and you go to the refrigerator and you take out like a ice cream bar or a cup of ice cream, right? You scoop the ice cream and you put some chocolate syrup on it and maybe some nuts, whatever you're into. But that's not going to be good because you shouldn't be eating at that time, right? So your blood sugar is going to go up and then the insulin, you're going to have cravings for certain comfort foods. So we have to have things kind of stashed in the refrigerator so that when you do have those kind of cravings, you have good things. And that's why some of the recipes at the end will help us too. And you can also try to stabilize some of the hormone fluctuations by incorporating more foods like flaxseed and soy. And those are rich in phytoestrogens, and they can try to help support hormonal balance and just in general for your health. And then having small regular meals during the day is going to help stabilize the blood sugar. I mentioned how the fluctuating hormones is going to cause more issues with glucose metabolism and insulin resistance. By having smaller meals, it's going to keep that blood sugar stable. And then I also have a lot of patients who do intermittent fasting, which is when you eat, let's say 8 hours during the day, let's say 11 to 7 or 10 to 6. And that after 6 p.m. or 7 is great because then your body is not having those extra calories that are going to make fat during the night when you're not actually exercising or doing anything. And your brain is really trying to detox and get mindful sleep. So I've seen really good results with intermittent fasting for a lot of patients. All right, so now let's dip into the holidays. We now know, like, well, this is a challenge. Let's add the holidays to this whole right equation, right? So in general, when we look at how much weight women gain during the holidays, it's about 1 to 5 pounds. And each year this can happen. So it kind of like if you gain a few pounds, the next year you gain a few pounds, and before you know it, you might be end at 8 to 10 pounds heavier than you were a few years ago, right? And so that's where it's really important to be mindful about, okay, what are you eating? How are we eating? What's causing us to want to eat? And so we don't gain these 1 to 5 pounds. And I've mentioned some of the factors that go into it. So this is why you have to kind of be easy on yourself too and understand, well, I'm working with my body during this, and now I can understand why it's a little more difficult, but we can manage it, right? And so we're going to give some recommendations about lifestyle factors and how it's going to make it easier to actually manage your weight during these times. Okay, so one of the things you can do is set realistic weight goals for the holidays. And one thing would be don't gain any weight. Just say, I am going to really be stable in my weight. I am going to make it so that it maybe I fluctuate 1 or 2 pounds because of water retention or something, but you really want to set realistic goals that you don't say, I'm just going to gain weight in the holidays and I'll lose it in the new year. Like you're going to say, oh, screw it. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'll lose it in the new year. Well, the problem is it's really hard to lose that weight in the new year, right? I think a lot of us could say that's very true, right? You say, oh, it's the holidays. You can have what you want. No, not a worry. But really, if we can be a little more moderate in some of the choices we make and still have fun, not deprive yourself, but really set realistic weight goals, okay? And then if you can weigh yourself weekly, not daily, because daily it can really fluctuate, depends on how much salt you have, if you went out the night before, but once a week, just to kind of keep it on track so that you know that you're not going completely out of whack with regard to the weight. And really, it's important to prioritize sleep. I could do a whole lecture on sleep. So Tamina, that's something we can think of in the future. But sleep is huge. And if you don't get restful sleep, that's going to affect a lot of how you react to food, how you actually make more cortisol, how you make bad food decisions, how you're irritable and angry and just say, screw it, I'm just going to have that candy. I really don't care. Right? So really prioritize sleep because that's going to help regulate those hunger hormones, the leptin and the ghrelin. Okay. So very important. I love sleeping, and that's what we all have to do. So now let's go into how we can be more mindful. Now we're going to go in some of the tips and some of the strategies of how we can make the holidays fun and still joyful without putting those 1 to 5 pounds on. Okay. So what is mindful eating? Mindful eating actually means you're going to be present when you're eating. That is, you're not watching TV, you're not in a major discussion per se, but you're actually looking at the bites you're eating, you're sensing what the flavors are, right? And you're taking time to chew. I know it sounds kind of weird, but that's being mindful rather than just like shoving it in, right? And we're just not even like knowing the experience of eating a nice meal. Also, listen to your hunger cues, and we'll go into some of the things that we can do for that. So, what are some of the action steps to take to be more mindful? So, eliminate distractions. I mentioned like the TV. A lot of times we don't know how much we're eating when we're sitting in front of the TV. We might have a bag of nuts in front of us, which nuts are great, but not the whole bag or a whole cup, right? You get like a handful of walnuts, or you have a little bit of something, not the whole container. Believe me, I've done it. So I'm speaking from experience. And then what is the halt technique? So this is actually looking at why are you eating? Why are you actually going to food to satisfy something? So this is, are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Or are you tired? Right? So sometimes we reach for food when we're angry. We're like, screw it, I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna get a drink, I'm gonna get some chips, and I don't really care. Or you're lonely. Well, no one's really here. I'm just gonna make whatever. I'm tired. Again, I mentioned how when you're tired, you don't make really good food decisions. And then also the leptin and ghrelin, if those aren't balanced, you're not going to have that satiety that is feeling like you're done, you're full, right? You have that craving. So really look at what's prompting you to want to eat. If it's hunger, yes, you need to have your meals, absolutely. But if there are other things that are causing you to eat, that's important to kind of look at. The other is start your meals with water, because if you drink water, that's going to actually decrease your hunger. Okay. And water, a lot of times, we're not hydrated enough. So drinking water is really important during the whole day. But before you start a meal, it's also important because it's going to curb some of that appetite. And then, as I mentioned, chew each bite thoroughly and pause between bites. Sounds pretty stupid, sounds pretty simple, right? But I don't think we do it. And I'm really trying to do that so that I taste it. I feel like, is this like soft? Is it rough? Is it nutty? Is it salty? Is it sweet? So you're just basically getting your senses into the experience of eating, because eating is both necessary for life, but it's also enjoyment, right? And in the holidays, you want to be enjoying eating good food, friends and family, savoring things. So just take your time and just breathe, right? Just say, I'm just going to take my time and really taste this. And this is really good cake. And you can have a few bites, but it's not like you shove it in, is what I'm trying to say is be mindful, take your time and savor what you have. The other is try to stay active and manage stress. Now, the holidays, because we're around friends and family, for me, it's family, can be very stressful, right? You kind of revert back to your roles as your child. You get back into that whole kind of routine of this is what you're supposed to be like, and this is what we're all supposed to do. And it can be very stressful. So that's where we can try to be a little more easy on ourselves and try to see how we can make this stress less pervasive, right? So one of the ways to decrease the stress is to stay energized and exercise. I know for a lot of my patients and for me, exercise is like a salvation, right? You get endorphins, you're exercising, you're getting your heart rate up, you're feeling like you're doing something fun. And it could be running, it could be hiking, it could be working out with a partner, like a buddy that keeps you accountable. But basically, make sure you stay in that exercise routine. Don't say, it's the holidays, I'm going to do this in the new year. Stick to the schedule. I'm going to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, or I'm going to go to my classes at the sports club or wherever you are, or I'm going to play pickleball or tennis, whatever times a week, Pilates, but stick to the same schedule. Don't let the holidays interfere with those really important things that you do for self-care. Okay. The next is you can take like a 10-minute walk after meals, especially like after dinner. You can take a walk in the morning when you get up. I like this one because they're kind of walking with the weights. So you're basically getting cardio and you're going to be working some of the muscles. And we know that we lose muscle as we get older. So it's really important to do weight training with your muscles to build more muscle mass. And having a buddy is really good, or having like a league or a time you have a class, because people say, why didn't you make it? Why didn't you show up? So it makes you accountable. And then it's fun too, because it's kind of like another social connection, which also is really important during the holidays. If you're family, sometimes doing things as a family, taking a hike, doing outdoor games together, like different things like, what is that one with when you throw it at the, anyway, cornhole.
Cornhole.
I'm horrible at cornhole, but at least you know it's fun. You can do it with the family. You're moving around a little bit and you're getting outside. So, and then prioritize at least 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week. I'd like even more, like 45. minutes 4 times a week, some cardio and weightlifting. But even if you can get to 3 times a week of cardio and some other exercise, that's going to also keep your weight down and keeping you active during this time. And I really like the part of getting accountability BFF, like your best friend, and just like someone who's going to say, I'm going to be with you. Let's go through the season together, and we're going to be amazing in the New Year's, right? Tip 3, make more balanced food choices. So the really important here is to have more fiber and more protein. So don't have empty calories like donuts, cake, cookies, candy, which are going to be pervasive. They're going to be at every stop where you go to when you go to the market or you go to an appointment. They have little candy there, and you say, "Oh, I can have a few M&Ms. I can have a few of this." And, in moderation, but we want to really eat nutritious foods, right? We don't want empty calories. We want nutrient dense food. So you can see here, like salads, make them more fun, put stuff in it. Like, here's that's feta cheese, like a Greek salad, and then have a lot of fiber. That's going to be more filling. And then you want some lean protein, chicken, fish, turkey. If you don't eat meat, you can have like beans, quinoa. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can get high protein into your diet, and that's also going to increase muscle mass, right? We want less fat, we want more muscle. And so this is going to gear us toward that pathway. As I mentioned, there's recipes at the end of your guide that are going to give you help with this and make it so it's more fun rather than saying, well, I eat the same thing every day. This is really boring. Well, get out there a little bit, get out of your comfort zone and try some of these fun recipes. And they're not hard. Believe me, I like it simple. All right. What are some other action steps we can do to be watching our weight? Fill half your plate with colorful vegetables. Colorful vegetable means you're getting a lot of vitamins and minerals, right? So you have like greeny leafy is great with B vitamins. You have the antioxidants with different other vegetables. You can see nuts, olives, cucumbers, and probably some feta cheese and egg. All of these are really good nutrients for our body to have. Good protein, good fiber. Also, you can swap some of the carbs with whole grains like quinoa or farro. So rather than having rice or bread, let's put some quinoa or farro in there. And it's really good. It tastes wonderful. The other, limit the sugary drinks, sodas, no sodas, okay? Have more tea, or you can have water with some cucumber or lemon and infuse it with something, or have some herbal tea. Those are going to be much better than sodas or sugary drinks. So here's just another kind of an idea of a great quinoa salad. You just kind of take some pomegranates, high in antioxidants, squash, another great food, spinach, and quinoa, which is a little more protein, with a light vinaigrette, and just toss it together. And you can add some little protein in there too, chicken, tuna, fish, that type of thing. All right, tip number 4 is hydrate. We all need to hydrate. I mean, that in general, I think we're dehydrated as a population, and over half our body is water. When we look at our brain, about 80% of our brain is water. So when we get dehydrated, you wonder why you get headaches and you can't think. Well, it's because you don't have the power in the brain to function. So make sure you drink at least half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. So water is another BFF, right? So make sure you drink enough water. If you're exercising, you need even more water, okay? So if you're 140 pounds, that means 70 ounces of water per day, right? Half of 140 is 70. Also try to balance the alcohol drinks with non-alcohol drinks, like having some spritzers, or let's see, club soda with lime in it, and have that between alcoholic drinks. It's going to help dilute things, hydrate you, and make it so less likely that you're going to kind of get too tipsy with some of these holiday gatherings, right? And then another important thing is set a limit before you go to the party, right? So let's say it's going to be a big holiday party, you're at the office and a lot of colleagues are there. You actually still want to have fun, but not go crazy and like be the talk of the town after the party, let's say. So you really want to limit the number of drinks. So you might say, I'm going to have 2 drinks total, and I'm going to alternate with water and some club soda. And I'm just going to really, be mindful during the evening of how much I'm actually having. And that's going to also help you stick to the number of drinks you're going to have. Tip 5. This is, I think, one of the hardest for us in general, but also especially during the holidays, is try to decrease stress. We have stress about making our houses perfect with the decorations. We have to get the presents for everybody, the actual Christmas gifts. We have to have Hanukkah if you do Hanukkah. I mean, basically, you're adding a whole much more stuff to your general stress. So it's really important to try to have a little self-care routine. It could be go to yoga class, breathing, just giving yourself a break. And again, by reducing your stress, you're going to be reducing the amount of cortisol and actually helping your body keep and maintain a good weight. So what are some of the tips we can do here? So here it shows me kind of doing some stretching. I'm by my fountain. So it's nice and calm. It's like a spa. So you can meditate, deep breathing for 5 minutes. Also delegate. You don't have to do everything. We don't need to be Martha Stewart. Okay, Martha Stewart's wonderful, but she has a whole team that helps her. Okay, we don't have a whole team of people who are going to go shopping for us and clean for us and put the decorations up. So delegate. Give it to your children, give it to whoever, your husband, your partner, whoever can help you. And you don't have to do it all yourself. Okay. And it doesn't need to be perfect. That's one thing I've actually worked on, is not having to be perfect. 80% is good enough. So I like that 80% kind of rule. And then schedule me time. This is really important. Self-care, like massages, yoga, a mani-pedi, also great. And then if you like reading, have some time just to kind of get a book and just sit with the book and just breathe, right? And one of my favorite things to do is play pickleball. So this is me on the pickleball court with a whole bunch of colorful pickleballs, because I like playing pickleball. And that's what helps me stay sane, but somewhat sane. So with that, I'm going to actually take a break and we're going to go to Q&A. Erica, if you could put in the chat box the link for the guide so everyone can get that. And then I'm also going to include a link for the checklist. So the holiday checklist with all these action tips in it. So it's going to be really easy to follow it during the holidays. So I'm happy everyone joined me. Thank you for listening. And I'm totally looking forward to questions that you may have about anything I covered or anything I didn't cover. We can also go there too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Diana. I loved your presentation and I loved all the easy, digestible tips. I have a question about water. So you mentioned starting with water before you start eating, to help you feel more full. Like, do you have any thoughts on drinking water while you're eating? Because I've heard like, I don't know, I've heard stories about how you shouldn't drink while you're eating because it inhibits digestion or something like that. Is
Yeah,
that
well,
true?
I think that we can still have water while we're eating, because many times we're dehydrated anyway, so we need the extra water. Okay.
Mhm.
But if you have water before a meal, it will make your hunger sensation decrease. You're going to feel less hungry. Whether or not it inhibits your enzymes for digesting food or not. I mean, when you look at like the Europeans and the French, let's say, or the Greek, I just was in Greece, they have wine with the meals and they eat and they sip wine. They don't quaff it, but they sip it, and it's still part of the enjoyment of the meal. And I don't think it's necessarily inhibiting your digestion. So I think it's important to drink water. If you're going to drink water while you're eating a meal, that's fine. Um, I don't think it's going to necessarily inhibit digestion. I think that the likelihood of having more water is going to be beneficial versus not having enough water. Great
Got
question, though. I like it.
it.
Any other questions that anyone has?
Hi, sorry I'm not on camera, but I have a question around like seltzer water. I might have missed if you mentioned that earlier. I kind of joined late, but is seltzer water okay, like LaCroix? Um, or would you say to avoid that just in terms of like the carbonation? I've heard mixed things about that.
Yeah, I think it's
Mhm.
it's another good question, because it's like a non-alcoholic beverage. It's a type of water. I think in
Yeah.
moderation, it's good. I wouldn't have only carbonated water or seltzer water. I would have just other plain water, because sometimes it can be a little too much for your stomach to have
Mhm.
too much of the carbonation. So
Okay.
I think in general, like if you're at a party and you want like a seltzer water or LaCroix because they have lime and they have pretty good flavors, but kind of have some other water in between or a cup of tea. You just don't want to have your whole liquid intake be carbonated water. That's all.
Okay.
But you
Sounds
can
good.
have it during the holidays. If you're at a party and you have a drink and then you have a LaCroix and then you have a drink, you know, I think
Yeah.
that's good because you're kind of spacing it out and you're also being mindful of how much alcohol you're having.
Yeah. And it just feels more exciting than, having a
Yeah, I mean,
water
water
to
can be kind of boring.
it.
Yeah, water.
Yeah.
So we have to make water exciting.
Yes. Well, I
How do
love
you make
water when I'm
water
home.
sexy? You can
Yes,
put
I
stuff
love
in it
it.
like pomegranates, you can put some cucumber, but yeah, I get you 100%.
Oh, you mentioned the pomegranate. Can you buy just pomegranate seeds to put into that salad that you
Oh,
mentioned?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You can
Okay.
buy pomegranate. I don't know if they have pomegranate seeds per se, like in a bag, but buy
Okay.
the pomegranate itself. They have them at the market now. And then just take the pomegranate seeds out of the fruit and
Okay.
put them into the salads. It's great. They make another tangy, fruity
Yeah.
aspect to your meal, and it's great for you. Yes,
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
you're
Sometimes
welcome.
I see the brand palms. Sometimes I'll see them like
Yeah. I mean, they
like
also have pomegranate juice or ways
yeah.
you can get pomegranate like concentrated. I just like the seeds too, just because it kind of adds color to the salads and it's kind of festive. Cranberries are also kind of fun to add to salads as long as they're not too tart. Sometimes you can cook some cranberries and steam them, but I think pomegranates are easier in a way.
Yeah. Awesome. We have a question in the chat. What are some examples of foods that can help with hormone adjustments that lead to weight gain? It's like foods that can offset.
Okay, so what is like I mentioned about you want foods that are high in vitamins and nutrients. Let me see if I have any recipes in here. Yeah, so here's some of the recipes. Here's the quinoa salad. So like foods that are going to help with hormonal balance, right? We want to minimize the fluctuations so that we don't have the cortisol and the weight gain and stuff. So some of the things you want high protein, and protein can be in yogurt, cottage cheese, that's if you can eat dairy, lean meats, beans, quinoa, like I said, farro, and then you can have like some other foods like fruits and vegetables. Like here we have blueberries. Blueberries are wonderful antioxidants. They're also good fiber and it's filling. Strawberries. And then you can see here's some granola. Probably make your own granola or get one that's less in sugar because sometimes they can be really sugary and have a lot of fat. But you can also drizzle some honey on top of that. And this is a great nutrient dense meal that's going to help balance hormones. I also mentioned about some soy products if you want to have like soy milk or tofu that's also fermented, that's good for you. But the foods that are going to be hormone stabilizing are those that are the carbohydrates that are good for you. So fruit, vegetables, like the lean meats. You just want to avoid breads. When I think about the market, you want to go to the periphery of the market, right? So most markets are set up that in the middle is the frozen section, and also in the middle are the chips, crackers, cookies, processed stuff. You want to avoid that, right? So if you're a holiday party and they have potato chips or they have hummus and veggies, you got to go to the hummus and veggies because you don't really want those chips because that's really high fat, high salt, and it's just going to basically get your brain to want more salt, more fat. So and also more sugar. Like if you're eating more sugar, your body craves more sugar. So it's kind of like sometimes you might notice when you're starting to have more sugar, like, I never thought I wanted this much sugar because your body now starts craving it. So if you can make the sugars less sugary, like rather than candy or like a cookie, have fruit like blueberries, strawberries, you can even have half a banana in there. That's going to be much better for your blood sugar levels and your hormones than is something that's processed. So it's really avoid processed foods because processed foods cause more inflammation and that's going to cause more problems with hormone regulation. So I hope that made sense. And let me see if I have another recipe on here. Oh yeah, salmon. I love salmon. Some people don't eat fish, but salmon's one of my favorites. And here you can just use a little Dijon mustard with it, breadcrumbs, a small amount, lemon zest, and fresh herbs. So get a little creative. Here it shows some rice. I'd probably put some quinoa in there instead. But brown rice is better than white rice. And that has to do with the glycemic index, which is how much your blood sugar goes up with a food. So try to have, again, the nutrient dense food. Salmon's great for omega-3 fatty acids. It's a great what's a high fat fish, but it's good fat. And so those are the things you want to focus on to try to really keep those hormones stable. What else do we have, Tamina?
Yeah, keep the questions coming, everyone. I have one. What's your take on cheese?
Cheese. Okay, well, cheese sometimes goes with crackers, right? So
Okay. Cheese without crackers?
and I'm not totally against crackers, but again, you want the high like fiber crackers, not the like saltines that are just gonna like go right through you that makes your blood sugar go up and it's just not good. So sometimes they do have some higher wheat or multigrain crackers. And I'm not, saying totally don't eat any crackers, but just and they also have rye crisp. That's a good one too, because it's got a lot of fiber in it. But I think cheese in moderation is fine. You just want to make sure you don't have your whole plate full of cheese. It could be a part of what's on your plate, but we don't want like a whole cheese dip over tortilla chips, right?
Mhm.
Because that's tortilla chips, which aren't good chips. And then if it's too much cheese, that's going to be a lot of calories. But you can have a little cheese and have some fruit and have some crackers. Just try to have the higher multi-grain crackers if possible.
Okay. Yeah. Someone said in the chat, what about mini pita bread with cheese? Is that less processed? I want to
What kind
say
of pita bread?
mini pita bread.
I don't know mini pita bread, but there are some pita
Yeah.
breads that have more fiber in them. So if you can get more fiber, that's great. If you have a little bit of some bread, I'm not against that. I'm just saying don't have like the whole meal being all about like bread, right? Because sometimes we love I love bread with butter, right? But I try to not eat that much bread because it's better for me to have more vegetables and have a carbohydrate that is not necessarily bread. Now, if you make your own bread, like your own wheat bread or rye bread or sourdough, I mean, that's different. Yes, you can have a little bit of that. And I think it's just avoid the processed things. So like if you're making your own things, it's much more likely that it has less salt, less fat, less sugar. And so you're not getting all the stuff that they're putting in it because they want us to eat. The people that make this food for us, they're not necessarily looking for our best with regard to health, especially fast food restaurants. What else we have, Tamina?
I think that's it right now. A last
right.
call for questions. Anyone? Speak now or type now or forever hold your peace.
One thing I want to give a little tidbit about is sometimes when I'm at a holiday gathering with my family, it could be pretty stressful. And then sometimes you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have a drink because they're driving me crazy. And my brother's driving me crazy, my sister's driving me crazy. I just don't really want to be here, right? It sounds horrible, but sometimes it can be not the most fun time. So rather than like going to get another drink, maybe just take a walk outside, like go outside, take a few deep breaths or go into a separate room and just kind of meditate for a little bit, kind of get out of that space of chaos and give yourself a little break because otherwise sometimes we just kind of go toward the things that aren't necessarily maybe the best for us. And so that's when I also kind of alternate with the non-alcoholic things because then you can say, I'm just going to go get a glass of water or a little of that LaCroix or the seltzer water and just like try to separate yourself from a situation that's getting too stressful. So that's one of the things I noticed a lot with the holidays too. And then the pressure of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be acting, because you kind of revert back to how it's supposed to be, right?
That's
And maybe
really
people's
good
families are
advice.
different than mine. Maybe you have like a wonderful, what is that? Not all in the family. What is that? There's
Brady
a lot
Bunch.
of family things like Brady Bunch, and everyone's all happy, right? And they're all like, oh, the holidays are wonderful. And it's like, that's not all families.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Christina, did you have your hand up?
Yes, and I doubt there's many happy families like that, but I hope they're
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's on TV. No, just
Yeah, exactly. Right, right. Um, I guess in terms of the alcohol, if I, definitely going to have one or two and, be very mindful of it and drinking water throughout. But is there maybe a preference or
Right.
a healthier like wine versus liquor? I prefer cocktails more than
Yeah, that's a
wine.
great question because you look at
Yeah.
different like sugar index, like if you have a margarita, tequila
Yeah.
itself is not bad, but the mix has a lot of sugar in it, right?
Okay.
Versus a vodka has less sugar and is less going to increase the glycemic index and can have
Yeah.
less, let's say, calories. So like a vodka
Right.
cranberry is going to be different than a margarita
Okay.
because of the sugary mix that's in it. And so you could do like a gin and tonic, right? Because tonic water is not that bad and a little bit of gin. But in general, vodka is one of the least caloric ones.
Okay.
A glass of wine, yes, a glass of wine's about 100 calories. A glass of beer, like 12 ounces of beer, and then a shot of liquor, those equal like one drink. But if you're trying to watch the caloric intake from that drink, see if they're adding sugary mixes to it. Um, like so some could be different mixes they use. Like if you look, some of the sugar things would be rum is more likely because they make rum more kind of sweet when they put pineapple juice. I mean, it's wonderful, but what you're adding to it isn't great. So I would say vodka is one of the main things that would be a good one to choose if you're going to. And
Okay.
then if you're going to have wine, red wine, a little better than white. White has a little more sugar than the red. But if you don't like red, I mean, you also have to kind of allow yourself to have a little fun, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying the holidays are challenging, but they still can be fun. I mean, I like white wine. I love a Sauvignon Blanc, right?
Yeah.
And I try to then just have water in between and put a little lime in there or something. But a vodka in general is going to be one of the lower sugary drinks, lower glycemic index. So I know a lot of women who are watching their weight, they have more vodka kind of oriented drinks versus rum, tequila, and some of the other kind of hard liquor.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question.
Great. I think that's it for the questions.
All right. Well, make sure all of you download the guide. And
Yeah.
also you're going to get the checklist. So make sure you download the checklist. And this is going to be recorded. So is being recorded, obviously. And so we're going to be able to share it with those that weren't able to attend. So if you have some friends that you want to share it with or family that you actually like, go ahead and share it with whoever. But this is all for education to make us so that we live our best lives at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and beyond. And I was with a woman, a patient yesterday, and she's 82. She looked absolutely amazing, just incredible. And I referred her to my site, and she says, well, I'm over 40. I said, but you're amazing at 80. Because I said 40, 50, 60, 70, and beyond. So we can all be amazing, whatever age, and be able to enjoy the holidays the best we can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone for joining us. And yeah, till the next time. Thank you, Tamina, for hosting.
Yeah.
You always
Thank
do a great
you.
job.
Yeah. And if
And
Dr.
then
Diana and Erica, if you don't mind sticking around real quick,
absolutely. All right.
recap.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Hi.
you for coming.
Thanks for really having this. I was really worried about this this holiday season, so I really appreciate the topic.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad you were here.
All right. Happy holidays, guys. Bye.
Bye.